Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun. This is our reaction and review for Sugar Season 1, Episode 8. We have made it to the finale, everybody. We have seen the end, and just how lit is this ending? Like, just how I'm so hyped coming out of this season. Like, I am so happy. Congratulations, you guys. Not only did you stick the landing,
Mm-hmm.
I want a season 2 immediately. Apple, just be
Yep.
like, boop, show is renewed so we can all just be happy and celebrate in the streets. Come on.
Listen, you guys landed the spaceship. This was so well done. I'm so excited about this show. This show ended up being the biggest surprise show for me of the year so far. I went into this thinking, we're going to have another crime detective type show, which is something that we really enjoy doing here. We cover murder mysteries galore or
Yeah.
like missing persons galore. It's our favorite thing to do, especially when we get something that's as special as this show. Like, I just thought it was going to be a straightforward detective missing person, and
Mhm.
then he finds her and everything is great and on to the next case. And they blew me away with this alien twist, with how human this story is and how deep this story became. Like, it's just so well done. 10 out of 10. I need a season 2 immediately, if not
Yeah.
sooner. Like, I can't wait for this show to come back. And all the critics out there that were like, this twist, man, it's not good. I don't know what show you were watching because it was so well done. Like, they didn't make this cheeseball at all. And with aliens, I know that it can sometimes come
Yeah.
across really cheesy and you're like, all right, it's aliens. But they made his reveal so intimate, like just himself, this very vulnerable moment in sadness and missing home and missing being who he is and seeing that he's changing. Like, it was so well done. And the reveal, we're going to talk more about that in this as well, of him sharing that with Melanie. It was another such intimate moment, so beautifully done, so special. Like, this show is really special.
I think if I'm to pull out an imaginary trumpet here, bum, 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 okay, like we're here to praise the show. We're here to also theorize on the future. Still have your tinfoil hats at the ready
Oh,
because
yes, get
they
those
they
on.
did so well at setting the stage for what's coming up. And before we do go further here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we obviously want a season 2 of this. And if that happens, we will be here to discuss all of that. But there's also so many other great murder mystery shows coming. Plus, we're going to be in the midst of doing Evil, Interview with the Vampire,
Mhm.
House of the Dragon is coming. There's a ton of great television these next couple of months.
Also, if you want more Matt and Just TV, you can
Hmm.
join our Patreon. It's a great way to help support us so that we can continue bringing you this content. And also, we have live streams over there every week where you can talk to us about all the TV shows you want, not just what we cover here, but anything else as well, TV related. We're there to answer all your questions and chat with you, TV. And thank you so much to all our Patreons.
Yeah, we really really appreciate that. And so, okay, we already got the tinfoil hats on here,
Yeah.
so I think we just got to start with the theorizing about what happened to John Sugar's sister because
Oh, yes.
okay, I've got a theory. I've also got a casting suggestion.
Oh, okay,
I
let's
I
go.
thought a lot about this and I was like, okay, who could play John's sister in a season 2?
Yeah.
I think we need somebody who kind of occasionally can have an otherworldly quality, but
Hmm.
also somebody who can play a wide array of different characters. I was also thinking, okay, let's get somebody who already has some familiarity with genre fare, who is on a Showtime series for many years. Eva Green. I'm calling you right now.
Oh, what a great casting. Oh my
I just
goodness. I love her. Penny Dreadful forever.
I just feel like I could. I could imagine that she would be related to Colin Farrell. I think there's enough of a similarity there.
Brilliant.
I just think, Eva, if you're available, if Sugar calls you, please answer the phone. That's all I gotta say. But okay, beyond casting Eva Green, which they have to do now,
Yeah, we need to get into the whole Henry of this all because the big reveal
mhm,
at the end of this episode was that he left this cloak that Sugar's sister was wearing. So now we know that Henry is connected somehow to the sister's disappearance. So let's hear your theory. What
okay.
happened to John's sister?
Okay, so one thing I want to say from the start here is that just like Sugar is not trying to be a prototypical private eye show,
Hmm.
I don't think the entirety of Sugar is going to be about John Sugar going and trying to find missing women. I think it's fine within the context of the Olivia story because
Hmm.
this is sort of a one-time story, but I think they don't want to repeat themselves too much. And if John's sister is just taken, and then he goes and saves her, and then he goes and saves other women. You're just getting into, I think, too much of a routine. And this show has already shown that, okay, we're very good at sort of tweaking things and making them in a way that you are not going to expect.
Hmm.
I think that John Sugar's sister Jen is still
Hmm.
alive, and I think she's also probably higher up in this organization of aliens than anyone would assume. Like I could imagine a world where she's actually higher up than anybody we've seen this season, and she has sort of gone away in order to preserve this secret. And just like John is there to observe humans, she could be there to observe John on some level and observe everybody else and sort of figure out exactly what's going, because there's one thing we know about Sugar in this season is that, despite his inherent goodness, and despite him wanting to do his best to help people, it rarely ever goes in the way in which he wants. And I think there's something just sort of cold and ironic about the idea that the thing he wants more than
Hmm.
anything else is for his sister to be okay. And this is the
Yeah.
case that got away. It would make sense if he couldn't figure it out because she didn't want him to figure it out.
Yeah, and going on that, the idea that maybe she's been promoted, she's higher up, and
Yeah.
wasn't able to tell John. I think that the sister is on Earth, and I think that she's probably been on Earth longer than John has been. That maybe she was promoted up, she was sent down, she started the program, down on Earth, and she's been living down there a longer time. And that's why the cloak is down there. Did Henry have something to do with it? Possibly. My theory is that we've seen where Henry is now, where
Mhm.
he is just grim.
Yeah.
He is on the other side of Sugar, where Sugar was down there observing and helping do good. And my theory a few videos ago was that there was going to be some aliens down there doing bad and observing bad, that they wanted to get the full human experience, good and bad, and hopefully learn some of the stuff that's in the gray area, because humans are not just all good or all bad. They
Mhm.
all live in the gray area, which I think John is figuring out. And I think Henry is figuring out as well, with both of them and what they had been doing. And I think that possibly the sister and Henry, before Henry went all bad here,
Yeah.
that maybe they were lovers and maybe they were friends, because I feel that Henry was higher up in this organization than he was leading on. I mean, he knew the address of where Olivia was. Obviously,
Hmm.
we learned that he was there. He was note taking. He was observing all the horrible things that were happening to these women and Olivia, and all of it. And the organization knew about it. Ruby said, we knew about it. We were covering it up. We have to observe everything. Like, as cold as that is, we can't just put a blinder on to all the bad stuff that's happening, pretend like it's not happening. We have to know all of it. She's like, but I did not know about the sister. And so
Yeah.
I feel like Jen is down on Earth and she's been there longer, and Henry knows that she's down there, but Sugar doesn't.
This is just the sad thing about I just like, we have sad news Sugar over on the Bear.
Yeah.
We really have sad news Sugar here on Sugar as well, where it's
Yep.
just like even Ruby, everybody else in this alien organization, they're just constantly like Lucy pulling the football away from Sugar. He never understands anything. They keep all this information from him. They may not understand everything about what's going on with Jen, but I do agree with you though that I think she is on Earth because they have sort of said a lot, the producers in various interviews ever since the alien twist first came out, that this is not meant to necessarily just like fundamentally change what this show is. This is a private eye show where the private eye just so happens to be an alien and there's these other aliens that are out there. I don't think we're going to get to Sugar season 5 where Colin Farrell is just, flying off on a spaceship and going from planet to planet and being like, is my sister here? Is my that's not I think the show they want to tell. I think they want
Yeah.
to have it all still be focused on Earth, and yeah, we'll probably learn more about aliens, but I don't think we need to see a full-on alien world all of the time. We got just enough of it in this episode.
Yeah, and I don't know how much more we're really gonna learn outside of John or Henry, or if Jen is still there. I think Ruby's still there. We never actually saw her get on the ship. We didn't actually
Hmm.
see the ship really. We just saw sort of the circle in the sky or whatever. But she said, this is the last voyage home. Nobody's coming back. You're not gonna have another chance. If you're gonna stay here, you're gonna stay here, and this is it. This is the end. Can that change? Sure. But for the information that we have right now, there is no going back. They just have chosen that they're going to live here and they're going to continuing on here on Earth. So, how much more will we learn about their home planet and what's going on? It's all going to be through them.
And I just love that basically the producers have set this up so you could easily do another 3 or 4 seasons of this show
Oh,
and have
easily.
each season sort of give us slowly more and more reveals about who these aliens are, why
Mm.
they came to Earth in the first place. Is it really just about observing, and what are they hoping to get out of observing? I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I have always been very, very suspicious about this entire operation, because it's just like, okay, so you guys came all this way and you're just going to sit there and watch. You're not going to want to do anything else. You're not trying to bring something back home. It felt like there was always a missing piece here, but you have plenty of time to tell that while
Mhm.
also doing some more, cool private eye stuff along the way.
Yeah, because they kept saying that their mission was sort of to preserve themselves,
Yeah.
sort of thing, as something is going on. So, if that's the case, and they're down on Earth and they're observing people, what is it that they're taking away? Is it more that they need to be a little more complicated like humans are, where you can sort of learn to feel and live in that gray area so that you can have context to situations instead of things just being like things are good, things are bad, those are the only choices, no context to anything, no sort of thinking outside the box or critical thinking or nothing else? That maybe that's what they're really there for, so that they're able to adapt and think outside the box.
I want to have a little Colin Farrell discussion here
Yeah.
at this point because, I've got a little bit of a history with him. I've always thought he was a good actor, but I've never put him, I would say, necessarily on like my top tier of favorite actors. This is my favorite Colin Farrell performance I think I've ever seen him in, and I think there's just something so good about John Sugar, and I say that word intentionally. I mean, it's kind of interesting. We mentioned House of the Dragon. We're going to be
Mhm.
covering season 2 of that, and Viserys, that character now,
Team Green.
Team Black, but Viserys on House of the Dragon is no longer there. Spoiler alert from season 1, but he was somebody who really tried his best to be king, and there was sort of an inherent goodness within him, and I think there's this inherent goodness within Sugar, and I like watching characters like this because we have sort of been conditioned these past 15 years that every leading man on a show needs to be Dexter Morgan or, Walter White or even Don Draper or somebody who is just doing these various degrees of terrible things all the time. And yes, John Sugar has killed, but he has a very visceral reaction to it. This is not something he takes any pleasure in. He really wants to help people, and he really believes, I think, in this formal construct of what the mission is. And I just think there's something so tender about the way Colin plays it. And I know you're a busy man, Colin. I know you're watching. I know you've got like that Penguin show coming and you're probably doing all, but I just make time in your schedule to do more of this, please, because you're so good at it.
Yeah, John Sugar is just a very respectful character, which is, weird to say in TV landscape, because you're right. A
Mhm.
lot of the bigger sort of male characters that are out there that everybody's rooting for are people who are very complicated characters that do bad
Hmm.
things but aren't all bad. Like sometimes the motivation, like Walter White,
Yeah.
starts of something that's good but really has always been about because he wanted to do it, and that, it comes out later that that's really what his motivation was. But same with Dexter Morgan. Oh, I'm only, I've got this dark compulsion, but I'm only killing bad people, so it's okay, right? But like, no, you're still killing people, so it's very complicated, right? But John Sugar is someone who's a really strong man, but he's also a very respectful man, and we've seen that throughout the show to show us that you can have this both sides of things, that you can be a person that's just in the gray area on the other side of it, like Walter White. Yeah, he's in the gray area but more on the bad side. It's called Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But then you've got John Sugar on the good side who also does bad things but is more on the good side. And we don't see that very often. Colin Farrell, he's great in this. Like, I've always been like, I can take him or leave him. The last thing I saw him in, it was True Detective season 2,
Oh
which I
no.
thought was trash.
Oh
And
no.
I didn't get through very much of it. I think I saw like an episode or two where he got shot in the chest with the shotgun and then got up and started running. And I was like, I'm out on this. And it wasn't even his fault. But he's so good in this role, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and the vulnerability that he has, it transitions into something you mentioned a little bit earlier, which is the scene between John and Melanie in this episode, which I love the direction of it. By the way, TV directors, they don't always get this sort of time to shine, but the visuals that were presented there, there was just such a tenderness there and intimacy there. I mean, it does sort of beg the question of, okay, it seems like that's going to be it for this dynamic based on the conversation, but there's still this part of me that's like, I want Amy Ryan back. Can we have her back? Can
Yeah.
Melanie come back into this show somehow?
And I think she absolutely is going to. Like, this was a goodbye because he figured he was probably leaving, right? So, I mean, now that he's not, why wouldn't he go to the one person he can trust? He thinks Ruby's gone. Maybe she's gone. I don't think
Hmm.
so. He can't trust Henry. Henry's a problem. So, who else does he have that he has that type of trust with? It's Melanie. And now he has shown her who he really is. They did this scene
Yeah.
so beautifully. Like, I was very worried that either this season or next season that there was going to be the moment that he was going to be like, I'm an alien, and that he
Yeah.
was going to have to say it, or he was just
Yeah.
going to turn all blue and it was going to be really cheeseball. And they just did it so perfectly where it felt really natural in a way where he didn't have to be like, I'm an alien. She's like, oh my God, I accept you. That it was instead this, where he just had that little bit of a change of a color of his eyes. She had understanding of it, and it's over.
I'll tell you my worst fear right now, and I will only say so much here in fear of demonetization. But does everybody remember that song about being blue? That if you're
Oh,
blue, but yeah,
yes.
like I
Yeah.
was that my worst fear was he walks in the room and just starts singing it and starts dancing around with with the blue skin CGI, all that sort of jazz. But no, okay, let's move over here to Olivia and the conclusion to the missing persons case that has been at the center
Mhm.
of the show. Like I could have used a little bit more Olivia. I think that we saw her, we got some element of closure here. We had a couple of big reveals that were sort of baked within it. I think, this always was going to be a struggle with the show of, okay, we have the Olivia case. We also have John being an alien. We got to try to resolve both of them. I think they did a good job. I'm not coming out of this just like feeling let down by the Olivia story. Could they have given a little bit more to though? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I mean, if I'm being honest, the Olivia case was never really the biggest part of the show for me. Like, it started out that way where
Hmm.
I was really invested in John and John being on this case and it reminding him of his sister and all the personal aspects that went into it. But as it was going on, I just became more and more invested in John
Hmm.
and him and seeing his humanity come together and trying to figure out why he was so weird
Yeah.
and like why he would speak the way he does or move the way he does or had that thing with his hand or what the relationship was with Ruby. I found that all these other things were taking my attention away from it, where I was like, okay, they're going to resolve the Olivia thing at some point. And the
Yeah.
fact that we haven't seen her yet, for all those episodes, I was like, okay, she's still alive. I felt it in my heart. Like if she
Hmm.
was dead, that would have been it already. I
Yeah.
didn't think they were going to get to that conclusion. So for me, I didn't need it to be a lot more than it was because I was invested in the other parts of the story more than that. I was glad that she was found. Seems like she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We had this very heavy implication that Jonathan is actually the father of Olivia, and that's all fine or whatever. But I
Yeah.
was, I wasn't shocked or anything like that. But I
Yeah.
was kind of like, did I need that much of the Siegel story? No, not really.
Yeah, I didn't need the Jonathan reveal, the potential reveal at all, if I'm being honest, because it could have just been a situation where, he's a caring grandfather who wanted to make sure
Yes.
his granddaughter was A-okay. I don't think the relationship necessarily has to be deeper than that.
No, grandparents are such important parts of all of our lives as it is.
Yeah,
Like my grandparents, if something had happened to me, they would be taking the same sort of steps. Like it doesn't have to be that he's like, "Oh, I'm really her dad and that's why." Grandparents are very special and they love their grandchildren in a very different special way. And
I
they will burn down the world for you. I thought that Olivia's story was going to be a lot more deeply tied into the idea that she knew that they were aliens. That was something that I've been saying for most of the season, that I really thought that she knew something. And that's why she was taken, because we had this whole storyline of these people in power that know that they're aliens and know their secret. And they've been doing all these things to them. I mean, we saw Miller get taken out and that they were like, oh, now they're just hunting us because we took Olivia back. And it's just kind of like, okay, well, where's more of sort of the payoff on that?
I
There wasn't any. I take an L.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be a little bit of something more there. I just thought there was a lot of potential. I think there is still a lot of potential behind the idea of what if some humans really start to piece this together? Is this just going to be an Area 51 situation where they just drag them somewhere and lock them up? Or if everybody's just going to be like, oh, you're crazy. There's nothing going on here.
Well, that's the thing, is we do know that there are humans that know that they exist. And now we have two that are left. There are potentially three if
Mhm.
Ruby is there as well, or four if Jen is there as well.
Yeah.
But we know that John and Henry are both still there, and we saw that Miller got pulled over and killed. So not only does John have to deal with Henry out there doing what he's doing, but there are people who know that they're there.
This is just a good show. Like, this was a really good ride to get to this point. It's been
Yep.
a lot of fun to sort of sit back, theorize about it, try to like figure out who's an alien, what the aliens want. We still have a lot of these questions, but I'm not mad about that because it
No.
just feels like we got enough to be interested in where the story is going to be going from
Hmm.
here. So, Apple, I know you sometimes take your time to renew some of these shows. Like it took you a good while to renew that Monarch Legacy of Monsters or whatever. So you don't have to talk to the Godzilla people here. You can make an announcement on the future a little bit faster. So please just do it. Put us out of our misery. We
Yeah.
both clearly want more.
Absolutely. We want more of this show, and here's putting it out into the universe. We can't wait for season 2.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us all season. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much to our patrons for your support as well. That means a lot to us,
Mhm.
and we'll see you here next time.